All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the son of Hamashiach, who some call Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Yehoshua. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. Briefly doing a review on someone else doing a review on GMS and some of the elders of that particular group, Great Millstone. Starting out with the apostle Tahar, one of his videos, and then another one of the apostles from GMS does a video, and then some of the leadership throughout that organization. And the topic mostly they're dealing with is proselytes, converts, more so trying to deal with or navigate around that that Esther chapter 8 verse 17. They became Jews, where it says they became Jews, and so trying to figure out how can that be? How did they become Jews? And they're trying to explain this. But in explaining this, they end up poking more holes in their doctrine, not knowing this, not understanding this, and that's some of the things that I don't know if people are understanding that. Like, when you start changing certain things or you start adding certain things to your doctrine, you start poking holes elsewhere. All right, you start leaking elsewhere, and with this here, man, this holes everywhere. They're putting holes everywhere. Pause.
People of other nationalities became Jews.
You can't be a Moabite and become a Jew. You can't be an Ammonite and become a Jew. You can't be an Edomite and become a Jew. You can be judaize. You can follow laws. Go back to Hyrcanus in the Josephus. He forced them to keep the laws. So then they started thinking that they were Jews. They didn't make them Jews.
No big deal. So, when you bring that stuff up, what he's mentioning there is the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, when you're reading the book of Maccabees, first Maccabees, second Maccabees, third Maccabees, fourth Maccabees, whatever Maccabees you're reading, they're detailing a lineage of Maccabeans who end up being in rulership after we revolted against the Greeks, and had a victory against them, made a treaty with the Romans, rededicated the temple. But after that, you still got 150, 160 years after that, you have something called the Hasmonean dynasty, where that bloodline of people of leadership that was that led us to those victories, they're becoming kings of Israel. All right, we are ruling and governing ourselves and making our own coins. We're going out and we're conquering other nations. We conquered the Samaritans. When brothers talking about, well, the Samaritans is the Nordic. Well, we conquered the Samaritans. And on that Mount Gerizim, on this mountain is where we worship when Christ was visiting, speaking with the woman at the well. And she said, man, they told us we worship up here. And you point on, but that temple that got knocked down. And this is also why this rivalry has continued, and why it's so burning at the point of during Christ's time, where he having they don't want them traveling through Samaria. A lot of times they had to go around Samaria, and it's because of that. Hey man, y'all came in here and y'all destroyed our temple. Put us up to tribute. And then not only Samaria, but also Galilee. All right. Also went up there, conquered that. That's why you have towns like Nazareth. That's above Samaria. And we repopulated that area. You need to know that history before you know what's going on first century. All right. So he's giving you a little of the history that while we were conquering, one of the first people we conquered. Why? Because they right next to us is the Edomites. And not only did we conquer the Edomites, and this is like 150, 160 BC, 130, something around there. second century BC. Not only did we conquer them, but we also forced them to convert. We forced them to get circumcised, and we forced them to serve our God. Now he tries to say like that's not a big thing. Yeah, we did that, and we just and they thought they were Jews, but they're not Jews. They just thought they were Jews. Listen, they ain't think nothing. They were forced into doing that. They were forced into it. It ain't something that they wanted to do. They were forced. You don't think they read Obadiah? You don't think brothers knew Obadiah before they started going in there slaughtering those Edomites? Why did they preserve them? Why did they say, hey, you're going to serve our God? You're going to get circumcised. You're going to make a covenant with our God. Why not just slaughter them all? But no, we converted them. And not only did we convert them, you see this in the text with Jacob's daughter, Dinah, when she got sexually assaulted, and from a brother from another nation. And he said, well, the only way we can make that right, we can make you marry her, is, you get circumcised, your whole nation. What do you think happens to that nation if that happens? If that would have happened and Levi and Simeon didn't go in there while them folks was over there getting, healing from their circumcision, go in there and kill, that wasn't the plan. The plan was for them folks to be converted, get circumcised, serve our God, and then you can marry my daughter. Then we'll let that marriage, and then we can become one people. I think that's in there. Let me. Y'all check me on that. Just for time purposes. In Genesis 34. Just for time purposes, we'll just keep going. But what does that look like? What would that look like? What did it look like with Esther 8:17, where they became Jews? What did that look like? What did it look like when, as the apostle mentioned, that John Hyrcanus, what did it look like first century, second century BC, unto the days of Christ, where Edomites have been converted and are navigating within Israel, and vice versa. Israel also navigating within Edom, because we had conquered that land. But then the Romans came in and took certain parts, and with our foolishness, and our internal fightings, Romans had to get involved, and they placed the king over these particular provinces. And our king ended up, after the Hasmonean dynasty came the Herodian dynasty, and where we see Herod the Great and King Agrippa and so forth being placed in there. But Herod comes from Edom. He comes from that relationship. It ain't just that he's the Edomite that they placed. No, he knows he's been engulfed in Jewish culture. Because as he's finna say here, they were Judaized and they were Judaism. But what does that look like? And then, with all that being said, we're saying that I want you to think about what you're saying, Apostle. You're bringing out that we conquered Edom while we made it, while we're under a treaty with Rome. How are you making Rome and Edom? You're gonna have to explain how you're making Rome and Edom the same people. If Edom is conquered by Jews and converted in the first century, how are you saying Romans are Edomites? How are you saying Greeks are Edomites? And this is what I'm saying. When you start bringing other stuff out, you got to look at where you're poking other holes at within your doctrine. and other things you'll have to explain. And I'm gonna tell you this too, that this is not the only place. Esther is not the only place. And I'll give you that. Let me just keep going.
Issacharite cannot become a Moabite, so you can understand. So let's go to that. See, vocab, man. You small in the Bible. See, this right here will IUIC would get stuck if they would ask this question. Okay, and the Jews had,
and you got to get off of that. Like, whatever happened back then, man, we gonna bring that stuff out too, man. We gotta dig, we gotta find these folks, man. A lot of these folks was living. We need to find out what happening, man. What were the relationships? Why do we have these beefs for no, like, it looked like there's no reason, but it is something. It is something there. Where I'm smarter than you and I'm smarter. Like, come on, man. Y'all brothers got two different organizations. Y'all ain't dealing with each other. Woody woo. But how you know they'll get stuck? Well, I know how you know. Probably because you taught them. Probably because they learned under you, and that's the thing. A lot of the leadership, and it's a little side track. A lot of the leadership that we have today within Israel, they weren't leaders before. And if the other leaders didn't splinter and do certain things, they probably wouldn't be leaders. They'd probably be a long way from being a leader of that own. They'd probably be way further down than they are. All right. Some of these people were just the people who guarded the door, but now they're leaders of some of the biggest and greatest organizations, looked upon as being some of the wisest men within Israel. But there was a time. And I think a lot of this beef is coming from that time. Looking like, yeah, I know you. I remember you back when you was da-da-da-da-da. And we got to get off of that, man. We got to let that go. And that's bitterness. That's bitterness that's rooted deep inside. But again, nobody will ever admit that they're bitter.
Light and gladness, joy and honor. So on the Purim, you can have sex. You can enjoy yourself. It's not a Sabbath. It's like if the vocab gets struck by lightning and die, we're not going to say, okay, we're going to celebrate the death of vocab, but you can't have sex. No, that's a party day. Okay, the Jews.
And then you go on that vocab, y'all already calling the police on them. Why y'all keep bringing them up? Why you keep taking shots at them, and then you don't want him to pull up at your camp? Like, you taking shots at them, and then some of your camps and some of your people that's under you that may not be instructed enough to handle them, but if you're putting them in harm's way. And I'm not saying he's gonna do something harmful to them, but they'll pull up with the cameras. You pull up with the cameras. You make them a target because you shooting shots. And then when he pull up on you, then you want to hide your hand and be like, I don't want to keep dealing with you. Brother, we done told you 1,000 times, 100 times, da-da-da-da-da. Stop shooting shots. Y'all don't want to deal? Stop shooting shots at him. Because as long as you shooting shots at him, he going to end up wanting to pull up. He going to pull up every chance he get. If you going to ignore him, ignore him.
Okay, so let's look up the word Jews. Let's look up the word Jews. The word is Yahweh Da Yah. The Yah makes it ite. Like instead of saying Yahweh is Judah.
Yah makes it ite. I think it's like one of the first times I heard anybody try to put any grammatical rules or any structure to the Lashawan Kodash, and understand that this is the Elder Tahar. He's been in this thing, 30 plus years. with this Lashawan Kodash, and he's, we can see he's having trouble parsing these things out. And so let's not Mike went crazy. Let's not act like we don't have to act like we speak this language, man. Like we know what we talking about. If we learning, we learning. We trying to figure it out. We're novice. But let's not act like we just know and this is that and this is that, and we speaking in absolutes and we having trouble parsing things out, parsing out just a word, parsing out letters. Like imagine somebody looking at the ABC, ABCD, and they looking at a word and they're sounding the word out in English like that, and then they're telling you that they're experts in this particular language. We gotta be, and I'm not trying to mock. I'm just saying, let's just be humble, man. Why we just can't be humble? We trying to learn. Brothers, like, one group, man, they teach, they probably the only group that teach the Lashawan Kodash, but it seems like it just continues to be, every time I look at it, it's on a very novice, beginner level. It's never dealing with syntax, sentence structure. Again, this is probably one of the first times I heard anybody talk about some grammar. He said the yah means "ite" at the end. Or the da means "ite" at the end, something like that.
Judite would be, in the Hebrew, Yahawah Daya. If it says Yahawah
Daya, that's a Judite. Yahawah Daya.
Yahawah Da Yum, it would be Judites. So you can understand.
Yahawah Dayam, Judites.
Descendant of Judah. If you're Issacharite, you cannot become a Judite. The Simeonite cannot become an Ephraimite. You can't be half Ephraim and half Judah. Let's come on back. Jews. Okay, let's go to the next verse.
And even with that, like, that's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with other nations coming in to Israel. You also have texts about we're going to take the strangers to their place and whatever tribe they're taken to. Like, what is that speaking on? And I know we try to put a negative tone on it, but a lot of that is positive. A lot of that, and he's going to cleave. The stranger will cleave to the Jew, or the Goyim will cleave to him that is a Jew, and say, I want to go worship where the Jews are worshiping, and they know righteousness, and I want to go to the mountain of the Jews where the law is being taught.
17, this last verse.
What he's doing here too is that his main point here is to show that within Esther 8:17, there's two words for Jews there. And he's saying what they became isn't, it says the Jews, the first Jews there, and then it says then they became Jews. What they became is not the same word. And to his credit, that is a point. All right. That is a point. All right. Whatever they became, it says Jews. It's a type of Jew, but it's not the exact. The writer put a different word there for a reason. Okay, so that is a point. I will give him credit for that. That is a point.
In every province or state, and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment, the king Ahasuerus, which is Xerxes in the movie 300, the tall guy with the jewelry on, that's him. And his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day, and many of the people of other nations of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. So it says Jew, Jews, and it says Jew, Jews. Oh, that proves you can become a Jew. No, doesn't prove it. That's not the case. It says in every province and in every city, or whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews, Yahawadiah, it should be Yahawadayim. Or, no, it's right, no, it's here. It's Yahawadah, Yahawadayim. The yum, it makes it plural. So that word,
The yum makes it plural. All right, this is some more Lashawan grammar lesson for those who study it.
there, la is the, right? The Jews. So right there it's the Jews. The Yahawadayim, the Jews. This right here is Yahawadayah, which is Judite. This would be Judaites, plural. The yum makes it plural. Gladness, feast, and good day, and many of the people of the land, the other nations, became Jews. Wait a minute, hold up. The word there is Yahad. Matha.
Y'all ain't gonna, let me just skip up a little more. But that's the point he was making. All right. And it is. The word, whatever they became, it was a Jew, but it's a little different.
Change this. It said to become a Jew, in fact or in fraud, become Judaized. Become Judaized.
And that's the word, and it's only used for that one. That's the only time. That's the only time that word's used there. To become Jew in fact or in fraud, become Judaized. All right, these people became Judaized, and what does that look like? So that's a great point, but what does that look like? Is that equivalent to someone becoming a Roman citizen? Like they're becoming like do they have the same privileges as a Jew? What does that look like? You know, what were the Herodians doing? What was off limits for Herod? Was anything off limits? How could anything be off limits if he's the king? What about some of his lineage, the Herodians, some of his followers? Some of the Edomite followers that been Judaized, and those of the other nations that had been Judaized. These people that were Judaized during this particular time, did they unjudaize, or did they just become part of the nation and start having children, and their children already just understand that they Jews and this everybody just continue on? What happened to these people? Because you didn't kill them off. We didn't kill them. And they become Judaized, or they end up getting a piece of the land. They get a piece of the land like Caleb, hint, hint.
Meaning they were dressing like the Jews. They were attempting to keep the laws.
He don't want to tell you they were keeping them, but he said they was attempting to keep them. We was attempting to.
Keeping the Sabbath.
They keeping the Sabbath. And then it's like, man, you talking about people, foreigners doing this. And then you talking about foreigners doing this 6th, 7th century BC. They've been Judaized and just been keeping the culture of Judaism. They've been keeping the culture of the text. Their whole, for the last 2,500 years. And then today we say, well, you ain't the blood. Or you wondering why these people think they're Jews. And you going back and forth arguing with these folks. When they could be part of these people that have been, we putting this just bad stigma on converts. As if it's such a bad thing. What does it look like? What are the benefits? We know one of the benefits here is that you don't die. Everybody else is gonna be punished who came against them, but because of that decree, a lot of people because of the fear, that came from that understanding that, hey man, they were gonna kill you, and it wasn't no threat. They were probably seeing Jews going out killing folks, and said, you know what, I'm gonna become a Jew, just like I'm gonna become a Muslim. Just like I'm gonna become a Muslim during when they were bringing terror on the world. They still are, really, to an extent.
Judaize. That's why you got a thing called Judaism, because they're Judaized. They're not the Jews. They're not Judah. They just follow the laws, statutes, and commandments. So they're doing what the Jews do. Like China, Jake wanted.
And I'm gonna tell you, like, even some folks like in South Sudan, they've been Muslim so long and they don't know nothing else. They don't know nothing else.
Act like a Chinese person.
You
You might use the word, he's Chinese-ized, so you can understand.
He said, man, you can be Chinese-ized.
Wearing dressing like the Chinese, eating with chopstick, talk Chinese, marry a Chinese woman, have Chinese kids or whatever. That doesn't make him a Chinese person. Let's listen to a little bit more. So vocab, you weak, man.
It says because fear of the Jews had seized them, showing you it's other nationalities through and through. So, sorry guys, your religion is false.
Rip, but then you're dealing with Acts 2.
And you're a joke.
It says in Esther chapter 8, verses 17, and in every province and city,
Right.
wherever the king's command and decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast day and a holiday. Then many of the people of the land became Jews because fear of the Jews fell upon them. So what we read is Paul speaking to an Edomite, saying that he can become and desires for him to become.
No, you add to this.
He desires for him.
Didn't say desires. Stop adding to the word.
Okay, you know what?
Didn't say desires.
That is what the word means. That is what the word means. It says, there's another translation that says I would. It's funny, though. They're all of a sudden, don't add. He's not adding, by the way. But
Yes, he probably didn't know how to answer it, because he would have answered it. He didn't know how to answer it. So he's not equipped to come out there.
Now he's saying that Naquam of Watchmen for Israel is not equipped to be out there on the streets teaching. He's not equipped. And some of this stuff, if we just had these elders, a lot of the elders, they're not hashing these things out. Hash it out on, this leader against this leader. We don't want to have those dialogues. We don't want the people to see that. I was one of the things when they was telling me, brother was speaking about that lunar Sabbath and how they had the conversation. All the camps kind of got together and had the conversation about it at the Hebrew summit. But they didn't film it because, why don't you film it and let the people see? Let the people have a voice. Let them decide also. But a lot of times we're not going to film it because we want to save face. We don't want people to be seen certain ways. And you really shouldn't be seen certain ways. The only reason you seen certain ways is because we done built ourselves up with pride. I don't care about being wrong. If I'm wrong, I would love for the correction. Because I'm not sitting up here talking about, man, I'm the scholar of the earth and we the only one can touch the Bible and I'm the only one know everything and I got 100% of the truth. That ain't me. And so you put yourself in one of these, you put yourself in this little bag and then everybody started coming at you and then we start seeing certain things and then you're wrong on certain things, but you can't say that you're wrong because you're supposed to have 100% truth. And so you'll never even put yourself in a situation where, okay, well, or we the scholars of the earth, or we the prophets done return back. And you'll never sit at the table. You'll never sit across. Bishop Nathaniel will never sit across from Apostle Tahar and have a dialogue on some of the differences that we have. Where's the elder Sabak sitting across from General Yohana and them having a dialogue about they're not gonna have them dialogues, and this is because of something that happened 20 years ago, 25 years ago. But let me keep on. Allegedly, just me speculating.
I told you this man, the Most High is not dealing with this guy. He didn't know the answer. All you had to do is go. Well, then, if he would have rolled up on IUIC the same.
And I'm saying, is the answer really they want to be Jews? Like, you're making the point. Like, to me, if you're saying that, you're making the point that, yeah, man, they got Judaized and we made them keep the laws and be like us. What do you, man? That's not good. That, like, if you're Israel only, if that's what you're teaching, you're under the banner of Israel only doctrine. You can't say that. You can't be out there teaching that. Ariel didn't teach you that. Oh man, we made them keep our laws and kept them around and let them sleep with our women. Herod his mom was a Jew and his father Edomite, a converted Edomite. Let them sleep with our women and have children and become kings and build our temples. And this goes all the way back, man. Let the stranger that's a joint of, let them get circumcised. If you want to eat the Passover, if you want to partake. If you want to partake.
Thing would have happened.
Shalom. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. All right, this lesson is going to be entitled Vocab Malone, David Lynn. Convert to our ways, not to our seed.
See, and now we trying to, well, yeah, they were acting like Jews 2,000 years ago, but they ain't the seed. And it's like, man, are we really trying to have that battle? And it's like, y'all almost there. You're looking like a mixed multitude anyway. Y'all almost there. You almost there. You still trying to fight and hold on. But man, that stuff you gotta let go, man. A Gentile is a Gentile. A stranger is a stranger. And read the text like that. You read the text like that, you get it. But if you read the text like that, you're gonna have to unlearn everything that you were taught. Not everything, but a lot of what you were taught, you're gonna have to relearn. You can't be out here talking about Cornelius is a Gentile. You can't be doing that. You can't say that. You can't say they up here Judaizing. And then we going into Paul, and that's the same conversation they having. Hey man, these folks coming in, these Pharisees like, listen, man, these folks coming in, these Gentiles coming in, they need to be circumcised and to keep the law. Then you go back and you reading Esther 8:17, and they told you, man, them folks got circumcised and start keeping the law in order to save their lives. Then you see the Pharisees and the Sadducees putting synagogues all these different nations. Why are they putting synagogues all over the place? That ain't Torah. You're supposed to got the law from the priest's lips. The priest's lips must keep knowledge. Out of his law, the law you must seek out of his mouth. You were getting that from the priest, but something happened after the Babylonian, after the exile from, we left Babylon. And Nehemiah is trying to get this thing back together. Ezra trying to, rewrite this stuff and get this stuff back together. Something's happening. Something happened there. Let me keep going.
Were proselytes.
And I'm just throwing nuggets out here for you to research. I ain't trying to tell you nothing. Research everything that I'm saying. And I mean it. Unlike some other people. Research it. Just don't take, Brother Phineas said, just don't take my word for it. Go research it.
It says a newcomer, proselytos, a newcomer.
And this is one another in the leadership. I want to say apostle. He's trying to say, here he's trying to say a proselyte or a convert, a newcomer or a stranger. They have the newcomer doctrine where they're saying, this is just a northern kingdom Israelite foreigner. But he an Israelite though. He know he an Israelite. And then you just sat here and said, Apostle Tahar just said, well, an Ammonite can't become Israel, but an Israelite can become a foreigner. Man, y'all gotta make that make sense. Y'all kind of just out here just saying stuff, trying to get away from you, trying to answer one question, but you end up mutilating 10 other questions. And you like I said, you poking more and more holes into your doctrine. You can't make a stance and say, well, your nation can't become a Jew, and then flip it and say a Jew can become from one of these other nations. But it's a foreigner Israelite. He coming back and he's learning the culture. And then how he done lost the culture when we keeping the culture there? How is he having to learn the culture when there's synagogues all over the place? Jews are all over the place. We were just in rulership. John 8:32. I said, man, Christ was like, he was like, man, how you gonna talk about he gonna set us free? He that believe in me shall be set free. Like, what are you talking about, man? We Abraham's seed. We ain't never been in bondage. Why are they saying that? Why are they saying we ain't never been in bondage? All right, because they didn't feel like that was they you have to think that or speculate. This is fluff. That they're not thinking they're in bondage. They're like, yeah, we got to pay taxes. We got to pay them taxes, but we made a treaty with them. And then to a degree, hey, they really they not to a degree. That's why they can buck back and be like, nah, man, we ain't doing that. What you doing? Finna put that in our temple? You crazy? And helping Rome fight up. Come on, y'all.
A stranger.
Got to understand the politics. I think we did that. We did that recently, man. Understanding the social climate, the political climate during the time of Christ.
Alien, a proselyte, one who has come over from a Gentile religion to Judaism.
Now we just watched Apostle Tahar, for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, breaking down what they became 600-700 years before this this particular incident that he's talking about, or that he's reading from, that Gentiles were converted. That Gentiles were converted to what he quoted was Judaism. Now you're looking at the definition. It says a proselyte, one who has come over from a Gentile religion to Judaism. All right, not we say Yahwadaya. Not that one. But now he doubles down and saying, well, a proselyte, a proselyte is a foreign Gentile. No, it's a foreigner, brother. And you got the answer there. You're trying to answer it and just bring that right there and now bring it on over. But you don't want to bring it over because you had the pre-notion that Israel is the only ones that can be saved. And so you're chopping up and mutilating the text. And this is where I feel you have your understanding is problematic. But who am I? I'm nobody, man. I'm the what do you call me? The some old announcer. To a degree, I agree.
What you had, the Apostle Paul spoke about these things. You know that you were Gentiles, meaning you Israelite foreigners that were Gentiles.
Go look at comparative text on 1 Corinthians 12:2. You were Gentiles, and y'all want to stop right there. Read the whole verse, get the whole thought. You were Gentiles who were pagans. You were Gentiles that served other gods. Well, what has changed? Your nationality didn't change. You just told us that can't happen. That's what your apostle was just telling us, that can't happen. You can dress Chinese and you can be Chinese eyes, but that don't make you Chinese. But then you have an apostle coming behind him saying, hey, man, the proselyte is somebody from another nation that coming in from another. Come on, y'all.
Now you're coming back to the fold.
And now you're coming back. Like you just done lost everything. You don't know nothing when it's Jews everywhere. What you think Tarsus is? What you think the Galilee, Gamaliel, the one who taught Paul, where you think he was teaching from? Where you think the Sanhedrin was? Where do you think they got that from? You think Paul was the only Jew that had Roman citizenship? Like, come on, y'all. Synagogues were everywhere.
And that's why he said, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. But this proselyte also extends to those that followed behind the traditions of the Pharisees and Sadducees and them, coming back or coming to the understanding of Yahushua and the grace that was extended, that the Pharisees and Sadducees did not extend, because they were ruling with a strict, with an iron fist, so to speak. Okay, that's why the Apostle Peter said, why are you trying to put a yoke upon the neck of these disciples that neither we couldn't keep, our fathers couldn't keep? And these are newcomers to the faith. These are Israelite foreigners coming to the faith.
No, them are Gentiles. And also, you can't say that they doing Northern Kingdom and then say Northern Kingdom is in America 600-700 years, 800 years ago from leaving Assyria. You can't say both things, y'all. You can't say that the Northern Kingdom is over here in America and then say Paul teaching them. Come on, y'all.
You can't expect them to keep everything, but after, once you get involved in the ministry and you grow, then you will be keeping more and more of the customs and more of, what is required of you. You have to go through a process. That's why the Apostle Paul said, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. So building on this, right? When you go to the book of Esther, chapter 8, verse 17, it says, in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness. Yeah, because they were delivered. Our forefathers were delivered from the hands of Haman, from our enemies. A feast and a good day, which still kept to this day, which is the feast of Purim, which the word Purim is the word Purim is the um, plural way of saying lots. It says, and many of the people of the land, meaning of the other nations, became Jews. And this is the reason why, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. So what I did was, yeah, Wi-Fi is not ready. What I did was I went to the NLT. And when you
And everybody kind of gets, the audience also, the crowd also, the members also get that same spirit where it's competition. Not ready for what? Just teach them so that you can get ready, so that they can get ready. Just put the information out so they can get ready. They're not ready for what? Y'all ain't gonna have the dialogue with them. We gotta man, humble down. We gotta humble down. We gotta humble down, man.
read the NLT, it explains why.
I'm gonna tell y'all, the comparative text is really I'm all for it, man. But if you trying to hold on to that Israel only, man, that may not be a good. You may want to stick to that KJV and don't leave it. But some of us have navigated there, trying to see other things, trying to give other things. But if you're gonna be biased, and you just gonna hold on to something, you just want to hold on to some of these teachings. And I'm just saying, not that you're going to be right. I'm just saying, just to hold your point, to have a stronger defense for your point. Not that you're right. I don't agree with you. I'm trying to help you have a stronger defense for your point. That's what this whole video is about. Not that I agree with you, but to show you where the holes are. You do whatever you want to do with the information. You plug the holes and then you keep it moving. And then when it's addressed, you'll know. Just like what we'll keep
even further, they became or wanted to be called Jews or follow the ways of Israel back then because of this reason. And then we're going to go back and we're going to read the chapter so you get a better understanding. In every province and city, whenever the king's decree arrived, the Jews rejoiced. Esther went to Mordecai and he dictated, they put the
Short video on.
Yeah, vocab's not ready either. So let's read it from the top.
Short video on that. So watch all these videos, brothers. Get built up, all right? Because these same questions, vocab gonna try to bring this up. He gonna try to approach us like he was so proud, so proud. But I'm
gonna tell you too, man. This video was a few years ago. I think he just resurfaces stuff, or maybe he just bored, don't have no content to bring out. But Israelites didn't stop fooling with David. I don't think Israelites didn't stop fooling with him, but David Lynn is not street teaching like he used to. Because I think he has a home church now, out there in Canada. Actually, last video I seen of him, a Muslim was outside the church, picketing outside the church, and then he brought him in and had a debate within the church. But that's why he's not out there like that no more. There was a point where he was looking for him, and he was looking for Wi-Fi. He was looking for them. He had some people come out there first, and then they ended up spinning the block and came back out there. But I don't think it was a good look for him. On the whole, looking at the whole thing, it wasn't a good look for us either. It wasn't a good look for Wi-Fi either. I think Naquam brother ended up getting locked up that night. But we'll continue.
He doesn't understand. Anyway, let's go to the word Judaizers, because that was a key point that Apostle Tahar made.
I recall him getting in that car and him saying Kwam Yasharala and them last 15 seconds with him getting in that car, it was kind of powerful, man. him contending for the faith and the zeal that he had, even in the back of the police car when they driving him off. So, all praise for that. And I know it probably replenished the oil of a lot of brothers that were out there.
This is the word judaize. Now it says make Jewish, rough, use that word with a grain of salt.
But I don't recommend it. I'm not recommending you bucking at the police and you know what I'm saying? Say agree with your adversary quickly. I don't agree with you. I don't. I don't think it's smart. I used to do that, and my flesh will buck a little bit. Like, they get behind me, they pull me over. Why you pull me over? It's my flesh, but I had to calm myself down. You have to calm yourself down, and be wise in those situations. Because it's not just you. You may have a clean record, but again, you may not know what your brother may have warrants. You don't know what he going through. You don't know where he running from. And mess around, everybody get carded, everybody get ID. We ain't got bond money, but for one person, we out here making, you can stress the flock. You know what I'm saying? Doing this, you got to use wisdom.
Convert to Judaism, which means what? Follow Jewish customs and religious rites, which even among these Amalekites, they Judaism, which we don't preach Judaism. We don't teach that.
You are teaching it right now, though. You're saying you don't teach it, but you are teaching it. You're showing that we were doing this in 7th century BC. We were doing this. We did it in 2nd century BC, and we see it during the time of Christ with the converts and the proselytes. We were doing it. You see the converts there. See the proselytes pulling up during the Acts 2. You see Nicholas the proselyte. You also have Achior in Judith, in the book of Judith. We pulled at Judith 5:29 saying, hey man, you know what? If the Jews, if they're teaching against if they're sinning, you can attack them. But if they're not sinning, don't mess with them because their God is going to defend them. This was Achior the Ammonite. Then I want to say, if you go to Judah 14, chapter 14, I want to say chapter 14, chapter 15, you see Judith calling, after she gets that defeat and has Joker head in that, she called Achior over there, Achior, and shows him the head. And Achior is an Ammonite. Over and over again, it says he's an Ammonite. She shows Achior the head. And, Achior, says, oh, that's the one true God. I know y'all serve the one true God. And it says he circumcised himself and became a Jew. Whatever you saying that means. So, y'all don't teach it. But should you be teaching it? Should it be taught if we're seeing it that many times within the text?
Right? But that's why it's called Judaism, because you keep some of the ways of the Israelites, but you're not actually them. See? And even among these people that call themselves Jewish, any person on the earth can become a Jewish, as it were, but you ain't never going to be a seed. You can't change your seed line. If you look here, Judaizing, to adopt the customs, beliefs, or character of a Jew. That's what you do when you Judaize, and that's what was going on. Other nations, they may try to call themselves Jews, but we're gonna forcefully convert the whole planet. Everybody gonna have to follow the ways of the Israelites. Let's go there. This is
And like I said, how was that negative? we gonna conquer the earth and make everybody righteous. How was that a bad thing? I don't know why you trying to put a bad spin on that. All praises.
Zechariah 4.
We gonna make you righteous.
14. We're gonna start at verse 12. It says, and this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And we always read this in dealing with the nuclear destruction, right? Going on, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And as we always tell you, we're going to get back from the nations all the wealth that we lost. We're going to conquer every one of them, and it doesn't matter. We're going to make them keep our ways. They going to, they may roughly try to call themselves like they Jews or whatever.
They might roughly say they Jews, but we gonna be in the kingdom. They gonna be around Jews. They gonna be doing what Jews do, and they may call themselves Jews. Like, what are we saying?
But we're gonna make the whole world convert. We're gonna convert the whole world.
We gonna convert the whole world. That sounds like be a light. That sounds like, man, we gonna be a light to the Gentile. We gonna be a light to everybody, man. We gonna be teaching the whole world to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, man, and to worship the one true God. That's your purpose. That's why we were created. That's why Israel was created. Israel is a GMO. Even when you talk about, the seed, man, Isaac wasn't no Israelite. Abraham was a Chaldean. It was something that was manufactured for a purpose, and we've lost the purpose. We don't know. We lost the reason why we're just to pump ourselves up. Man, we the greatest people on the planet. God love us. Why did he choose you? What's your purpose? And you're spelling it out here. I don't know if you don't realize it, but you're spelling it out. To convert the world. To show the world righteousness. To show the world who's the true God. You ain't got to put your anger on it.
To follow our ways. As it goes on, it says, and so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, and of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents as this plague. Listen, and it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the king.
And then think about that. The people who are getting punished are the people who rose up against Jerusalem. But even of the people that rose up against Jerusalem, there are some that's left. So if you're saying that is nuclear, or those are nukes, there's still some people that's left. And those that fought against Jerusalem, it says, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem, those people that were left from trying to buck against Jerusalem, the grace of the Lord, my goodness. How do you even still get a chance? How merciful is our God where you fought against Jerusalem? Nukes came down and destroyed you, so you say. If you wanted to be nukes, okay, nukes. All we know is some fire came down that can melt your eyeballs. And still some survived and got the opportunity to go up and keep tabernacles. I see grace. I see mercy in that.
The Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. What's the Feast of Tabernacles? Where did that come from? It comes from our culture, our heritage. Every nation will be forced to follow. You will be converted. It says, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt, and the punishment, it's a punishment, right? And even when you read...
What's the punishment, brother? What's the punishment? It's a punishment if you don't go up there. But they already survived not being killed from being disrespectful and coming up against Jerusalem. Now you got a second chance. Come up here and worship at this tabernacle. You don't do that, then you deserve to die. You already deserve to die anyway. You was spared. Well, we trying so hard to make this thing negative.
In Esther, it talks about because of the fear of the Jews, right? They became Jews. They were, and even in the elder apostle Hart mentioned, you got to look up John Hyrcanus, forcefully converting them damn Amalekites. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations.
And how he, if y'all saying that they wrong, and the Japhites are some Filipinos or some Eskimos somewhere. You know, how does that how are those, you know, the same people if we conquered them?
I say the truth in the anointed, I lie not. My conscience also bear me witness in the Holy Spirit that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from the anointed, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises. So no matter what, if you even if you convert to our ways, you are never going to be you're never going to be the seed of Jacob. You can't convert to the seed of Jacob.
You can't convert to the seed of Jacob. He used, you know, who are my brothers according to the flesh, who are Israelites. Who are Israelites according to the flesh. But then we'll go to, what's this? Ephesians 2:11, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh. How can you be a Gentile in the flesh in past time? Y'all want to say that that's an Israelite who were called uncircumcision by that which was called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. You would come back and try to tell me that that's an Israelite. He talking to Israelites right there. He talking to Israelite foreigners. When it says you in time past were Gentiles in the flesh, and that's not, you don't stop there. It's the fact that you were called uncircumcision by the circumcision. You got to continue with the point. Just like you don't stop in 1 Corinthians 12:2. Let me see if we got any more here.
Set them. What's this dude name? Geno Jennings tried to use this. Is it Michael 4? And they'll use it and try to make it like it's now. Like these people can be Israelites now. Yeah, this is Michael 4:1.
And I think this is just the spirit, man. You know. they pulling this stuff out just, and it's like, do y'all know what y'all doing? You don't see what y'all doing?
But in the last days it shall come to pass. They'll use it to try to make it like people can be accepted with the Lord. No, you're gonna be forcibly converted.
You can be accepted with the Lord. No, you're gonna be forced to be accepted. What are we saying? I don't like what. Now we gonna force you. You ain't just gonna be accepted. The Lord just ain't accepting you. He ain't gonna accept you till we force you to be accepted. Till we make you.
But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. This is talking about the government of the Lord. It says, and many nations shall come and say, come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob. Listen, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, for the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. You see it? And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords in the plowshares, and their spears in the pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. It's the same time frame we read about in Zechariah 14. They're going to be forced to keep our ways.
I don't see no force there. They saying, let us go up there, man. Let us go up there and worship. Let us go up there and learn them ways. You know. What John Hyrcanus did was forced. That was forced. Even with, you know, them trying to, but any other convert or proselyte, that's not something that they were forced into. That's something that they wanted to do. That's something that they're doing to this day. To this very day, people are cleaving to Israel and wanting to keep the ways of God. We ain't got to force them. You can't force nobody to do nothing. Everything's done through the Spirit.
Isaiah 2:2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it.
All nations shall flow unto this hill. All nations, not just Israel, all nations shall flow unto this hill. Those who are under the banner of Israel only, is he making a good point for Israel? Have GMS made a good point for Israel only doctrine? Are they making good points here for Israel only doctrine when they're bringing out this information? Or does it weaken the doctrine? Those who are under that understanding of only Israelites can be saved, is Israel helping the case with these doctrines that they're bringing out about converts, proselytes, Esther 8:17?
Right? And we found out what? That this is by force. This is going to be by force. They're going to be forced to keep our ways. The whole earth is going to be converted to following the ways of the Lord. Our law will be law among the whole planet.
It ain't our law. Well, I think he's going to say that.
And you still won't be the seed of Israel. You're going to be tributaries. And many shall go and say, come.
Then you going to make them tributaries. How they going to be tributaries when they who going to need money? They going to be paying taxes? You know, paying taxes in the kingdom? It says everybody's going to, plowshares is going to be, everybody's going to be beating, they're going to beat down their plowshares and everybody's going to be living in peace. And the law of righteousness will be, everybody will know the law. Everybody will be keeping the law. You got nations there keeping the law. All these nations flowing to this mountain.
Come ye and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word.
He said he will teach us. Who is the he there? It says, let us go up. Let me see. He says, let us go up to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
Word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And what's going to happen if you don't do it?
And what's going to happen if you don't do it? Well, you're not going to be there. I don't care who you are. If you don't do it, you will not be there. If you're disobedient, you're not going to be there.
Receive a punishment. You're going to get no rain. And he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords in the plowshares and their spears in the pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. This is also how we know that the people in the Holy Land now couldn't possibly be Jews, because this is not happening.
I pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all on the next one. Shalom.